Welcome to Lenses and Lyrics, where music and photography collide. This podcast dives into the crossover world of photographers who are or were musicians, those whose passion for sound influenced the way they see through the lens. Connect with all things Lenses and Lyrics at lenseslyrics.com. What came first, music or photography for you?
Definitely music. Definitely music. 1964, the Beatles. I mean, when I saw the Beatles, I said, okay, this is it. This is what I want to do. So I had a harmony. My parents got me and my brother, a harmony acoustic guitar. It probably cost $12 back then, but that's how I learned. And actually back then, they still have them today. They had this device that goes on the neck and you could press a button, you got a C chord. Press another one, you get a G chord and A minor. So I think I saw one recently, but yeah, that's how I learned. But speaking of the Beatles and photography, do you know Harry Benson?
Recognize the name.
Yeah, Harry Benson was a Beatles photographer. Okay. He shot more covers for People magazine than any other photographer. Photographed Michael Jackson, the Reagans, the Kennedys. You could go on and on.
Yeah.
So anyway, and there's a great movie about him. It's called, I think, Shoot It. Harry Benson, Shoot It or Shoot Me, something like that. Okay. Just look up Harry Benson. Anyway, people ask him all the time, you know, Harry, you've been around for a long time. You've got the People magazine, the Life magazine, the Beatles. What's your advice to someone who wants to be a photographer? He says, get a guitar. It's funny. It's funny, but it's a good way to make a living with music too, for sure.
Oh, of course, fun, creative. There's so many overlaps between the two genres, as we've come to see over the years, and which is why the show exists now, which is great.
I think it's a great idea for a show.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. I'm glad you think so. So, right before we hit record, you mentioned to me, because I shared with you, that I went to Berklee and I was a dropout. With Berklee, Berklee has a very high dropout rate, probably the highest of any college in the country.
Well, I think the photo schools had a high dropout rate too. Look, we're just not around anymore, which is great. Right. Yep. It's up by Amherst. Anyway.
So when you were at Berklee, was your major guitar or something else?
No, it was arranging and when I was there, you could specialize in an instrument or arranging in composition.
Okay.
So I specialize in arranging and composition, which I think is the key.
Yeah. I got in playing clarinet. And
wow.
And then day one, so my major was music recording, because I wanted to own a recording studio and record bands for a living. That was my goal. So day one, because I knew I couldn't get in playing guitar, day one I switched to bass guitar. Like, I didn't play clarinet even once at Berklee. And I just switched my core instrument on day one. And
I play bass more than anything now.
Really?
Bass. Well, you know what changed my mind? You're not recording now, or we are recording?
Yeah, we're recording. Yeah.
Yeah. I saw I don't know if you've watched any of the master classes. I saw, Anna Winters. I saw, a bunch of them, but I love the Santana one. And the whole Santana one, he never talks about, what key he's in, the notes, things like. He's just talking about the feeling and the emotion, things like that. And after watching that, I said to myself, I could never play guitar like Santana, but I could play bass like Santana's bass player. Basically, the root and the fifth,
yeah,
and the third and the seventh sometimes. So, I think the bass. Well, as you well know, the key to a band is the bass and the drums.
Oh yeah, that's the heartbeat. So yeah. So were you ever in a band that did touring, that did concerts, anything like that? Was it primarily fun jamming out with the guys or whoever? What was it like for that aspect?
My wife and I were wasn't a band, it's just us. We used to play on Long Island. Clubs. One was my father's place that some people may remember it. We had like the amplifiers and the mics and all this stuff. And she's an amazing singer and a very good guitar player, but she just doesn't want to do it. So I play by myself. Yeah.
Well,
but we had a lot of fun.
Yeah. By myself is pretty much all I do these days.
Do you know Quartify?
Say it again?
The website Quartify? I like CHORDIFY.
If it's
This is
like
amazing.
Ultimate Guitar, I use Ultimate Guitar, but it sounds like it could be a similar thing.
Well, what Chordify is you type in any song,
Uh-huh.
like a Santana song, like Moonflower is one of my
Okay.
favorite songs. You type in Moonflower, and then in a second, you get all the chords and the music so you could play along with Santana or Clapton. What it
Nice.
does is it picks it up from YouTube,
Yeah.
okay? And then in a second, it transposes
Yeah.
and it creates this cheat sheet, and you play along with it. I've learned so much, so much.
Mm.
"Fly Me to the Moon," one of my favorite jazz songs. I
Mhm.
play this on that, so every night I can play with someone really famous and sound good.
That's great.
Playing
I'm
the
definitely
fifth,
I definitely have
Chordify.
to check that out. So your favorite genre of music to play, is it jazz? I think that's from what I can tell from, the YouTube videos you
Yeah,
put out and stuff like that.
yeah,
Seems like that's your favorite.
yes. Chick
Yeah.
Corea. Chick
Nice.
Corea is one of my favorites. What I do is, and it's really fun, I'll get an idea like one of my favorite jazz songs, it wasn't a jazz song, but I
Mhm.
made it into a jazz song that's been recorded as a jazz song, is "Over the Rainbow."
Oh,
So I got all these rainbow pictures together and I played "Over the Rainbow." In Antarctica, and I saw so many pictures of the beautiful, beautiful blue ice, and it's so silent and clear. So there's a Chick Corea song called "Crystal Silence." So I played Crystal Silence along to these. Another one with clouds, another Chick Corea song, 500 Miles High. So anyway, it's a lot of fun. So I put them together in iMovie. I
hmm,
recorded with my iPhone, which is amazing with a good
hmm.
mic, and I do the whole thing. It's a good project.
Yeah, that's fun. I love that you're combining the visual with the audio
Yeah.
to create this. It's just another way to blend two beautiful arts together. It's so awesome.
Do that. Scott
Yeah.
Kelby's incredible. He'd be great on your show. He
Yeah.
is really a great musician. I wasn't going to say good, but he's great.
Was there any defining moment that you had as a musician? And we're going to talk more photography side of things as well, but for the
Yeah.
meantime, like as a musician, is there a defining moment that has impacted your life? Maybe not necessarily like specific to music, but something that happened musically changed your world in
Uh,
some way.
I would say, no kidding aside, seeing the Beatles. Seeing the Beatles was mega. Being at Woodstock in
Hmm.
1969, where I drove my Volkswagen bus, up to Woodstock. My
Hmm.
parents are freaking out. I go with my friends. We're in the back, and we go to Woodstock. I'd say seeing Santana there,
Mm,
seeing Santana uh, was just mind blowing. And then
yeah.
waking up to see Hendrix play the Star Spangled Banner. Richie Havens, who opened it and improvised, as you know, he just was faking it because the other act didn't show up. Crosby, Stills, and Nash. I would say Woodstock. And I talked to a lot of people who went. They said that was a defining moment in their life. I said, okay. And then after that, I went to. We used to call it Berklee because all the guitar players were like stoned all the time, walking around with their cane.
Yeah. My first day at Berklee, they had like an opening performance, and I
Yeah.
guess at least while I don't know how long they've been doing in that, but I was there in I graduated high school in 2000, so I was there I
Hmm.
guess in 2000, and they had Stevie Ray Vaughan do a solo
Oh,
performance on day one, and we all just sit there and enjoy it. It's really cool.
Mary Had a Little Lamb. Talk about being creative. That he turned Mary. You've heard that version,
Hmm.
right?
Yep.
That he could turn Mary Had a Little Lamb into one of the best rock songs ever. It was just
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
that's sad. All these, not all, so many musicians died,
mhm.
in plane crashes. He was amazing. I saw him with a blues player, not BB King, Albert King, with
Okay.
Albert King. And it was amazing. Look it up, BB King, Albert King. Amazing.
Nice. Yeah, definitely. So what was the shift like? How did music turn into photography? Where did the photography come into it, or was it always there, sort of like underlying? How did that come to be?
Well, my father worked in television, and he was the
Mm-hmm.
director of a show called a lot of your listeners and viewers may not know it. It's called Person to Person in the 50s. It was Edward R. Murrow. There's a show on Broadway, Good Night and Good Luck,
Mm-hmm.
about Edward R. Murrow. He was a very famous journalist. My
Isn't
father
that
was the director.
is that the George Clooney show that he's
Yeah,
doing?
yeah.
Okay,
That
got it.
that so he was Edward R. Murrow. My father
Mm-hmm.
directed Edward R. Murrow's show, where at the end of the show, Murrow said good night and good luck. Anyway, my father was the still photographer and the director of the show. So back then in the 50s, he would take his 4x5 Linhof view camera to Marilyn Monroe's house, Humphrey Bogart's house. He would fly out there, take the stills, come back, develop the negatives in our basement,
Mm-hmm.
bring them to work so they could figure out where to put the cameras and the lights. I mean, this is what they had to do back then.
Right.
So he was always into photography, and my mother then would hand color some of the pictures. So I grew up. Then he had like a Canon 35 millimeter camera, the Polaroid camera. Actually, there's a Polaroid back for the 4x5. You peel off the stuff. Anyway, so I was surrounded by photography growing up. So, I always liked it, but I wanted to be a musician. So to make a long story short, I'm going to try to make it short. So my wife and I got married in 1975. I got out of Berklee, teaching guitar and piano lessons on Long Island for $7 a half an hour. And so I'm sitting around and I'm taking pictures and things like that. And my wife was working in the city, actually at CBS TV. And she said, she brought home all these magazines. And she said, why don't you send a picture to one of the magazines? So I sent a picture to the magazine. It got published. Then the editor called me up and says, could you write an article? I said, well, I've never written an article in my life for a magazine. I'm a musician. So write the article. So I write the article. It gets published. The publisher calls me up. He says, you want to be the editor of the magazine? So I took the job because I wasn't making that much money at $7 a half an hour.
Right.
We just got married. So I was the editor of Studio Photography magazine for 3 years. Then, with no experience, then the head of the Minolta camera account at Bozell and Jacobs, one of the biggest advertising agencies in the world, calls me up because you like what I did with studio photography. He says, you want to head up the Minolta account? No experience. So I like quadrupled my salary. So I said, sure. So from 1980 to 1990, I was the editor. I was the head of the Minolta account. And I got to interview people like Arthur Rothstein, one of the most, he was with the FSA, the Farm Security Administration. I still have these articles because these guys are great photographers. Andre Feiniger. So I loved that job because I got to meet so many. Karsh of Ottawa, Joseph Karsh. I got to interview Karsh of Ottawa. And then 5 years into, anyway, and then I got out of the advertising agency and started to do this.
But it seems like all of this that led up to you doing photography, writing an article, at least that one, and then becoming an editor. You probably wrote more throughout that time. Now, how many books have you written? Because it's led to that for sure. You've written a lot of books.
I've written 43 books.
43. It's a lot.
Well, my fingers are tired. That's the thing. But
yeah, I'm sure.
This is my favorite book, Phototherapy, Motivation, and Wisdom. Out of the 43 books, Scott, this is my best-selling book. Yeah. And get this, look. Not one picture.
Yeah. All text.
It's my best-selling book because I didn't want people to be distracted by pretty pictures, sunsets or wildlife or, exotic places. Yeah. I wanted people to really focus on what their photography means to them.
Yeah.
And so I have 43 books. I have almost 60 Kelby 1 classes, but I still play guitar. Maybe we could play someday. Yeah. Well, I like to play blues. We could play a 1-4-5 or once for the musicians who are listening, a 1-4-5, or we could play the circle of fifths, 1-7-6-2-5-3-1, right?
Yeah. It's funny. It's been so long since I stopped playing in a band that it's almost not uncomfortable and like, this doesn't feel right, but uncomfortable and like, I almost forget what to do when I'm playing with somebody else. You know what I mean?
That's why
like,
Chordify. That's why
Yeah.
Chordify is so
Yeah.
good. You could play with Santana, Clapton, anybody,
Yeah.
and no Chordify. I recommend Chordify
Yeah, I'm
to
definitely gonna check that out.
everyone. It's
Yeah, I'm going to for sure. Photographing bands, since that shift to photography and music is more of the photography became your business, right? Music became more of like what your passion, I guess, became more of the hobby, for lack of a better word, right? At that point.
Yeah.
Did you ever photograph bands either informally or professionally?
No. Well,
Never.
informally. Actually, just we're recording this in late July.
Yeah.
I just published some pictures. Back in March, we went to a concert in New York City called God's Love. I had great seats, and I just published a picture of Grace Bowers. I don't know if you know her. Amazing, young, like 27-year-old guitar player. Peter Frampton was there.
Ooh, nice.
I'm looking at the pictures on my screen because I just published them today on social media. So yeah, photographing bands is kind of tricky because you have to be first in the right place, location.
Yeah.
The lights, the green lights, the red lights, the blue lights, so.
Yeah. Photographing bands has always been one of my favorite things to do. I've never done it. I photograph like press photos for bands, right?
Yeah,
Where you're posing them, you're positioning them, whatever it might be, and maybe you're controlling the light more than not. But I've never done a concert professionally, more just for myself for fun. But I enjoy it because it is hard and it's fast paced. So it's a lot of fun to have to figure it all out on the fly. And I find that when you know the music, it helps you photograph it so much better.
That is, I'm looking for a picture. I don't think I can find it. I respect you because for a lot of reasons, but one is that is not easy to do.
Yeah.
But I think what you said is knowing the music is important. But speaking of that, rather than being in my office, you'd be interviewing me from my yacht if I had a camera at Woodstock.
I'm sure.
We could not have been closer we were at the stage. We got there early.
Wow.
The whole concert, I was like 50 feet, maybe 100 feet away. And I didn't have a camera. And I know, Henry Diltz, all these other people, they've made a fortune out of these pictures. So,
but I also wonder, would your experience at Woodstock have been different if you were behind the camera more than being in the moment and just enjoying the music? Would it have been different?
Since I can't remember too much about what, for obvious reasons, what happened at Woodstock, I really can't answer that.
What happens at Woodstock stays at Woodstock.
Yeah, I think it would have been. I think it would have been different.
Yeah.
Because I was there just to, I talked to people. That was such a different time.
Yeah.
Things are not going easy for a lot of people right now.
Oh yeah, there's I speak to a lot of wedding photographers every day for my full-time job, and there are wedding photographers that are striving, right, doing extremely well, but I would say for the most part, there's a lot of wedding photographers that are hurting for bookings.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah,
I think I know what the answer to my next question is going to be based on our conversation so far, but I'm going to ask it anyway. If you could hop on stage with any band, past or present, to jam out, who would it be?
It would be Santana. It's the root.
Oh, I thought you were going to go with the Beatles, but Santana's still good. It's still a good answer.
Yeah, I would say Santana. He's a very spiritual person. I would like to meet Paul McCartney. We were at a concert recently, a backyard. We live in Croton-on-Hudson, New York, and someone has a party in our neighborhood every year. They've had a Greg Allman there in their backyard playing. Dave Mason from Traffic was there, and this year Jackson Browne was there. And Jackson Browne was so good. He played longer than he needed to play, and he was just so giving and caring. So I wouldn't mind playing with Jackson Browne.
Nice.
But
all good answers.
Actually, after Woodstock, my friend and I, we went to California because I wanted to be in Joni Mitchell's band. I
Okay.
had a Martin D35. Now I have a Martin D18. But Joni Mitchell's amazing.
Mhm.
What a poet. What a poet.
Yeah. That just reminded me. Did you watch the
Laurel
movie
Canyon,
that's like about Bob Dylan, the one that's like about his life?
Rolling Thunder.
Was that the
Yeah.
name of the
Oh, the
movie?
new one with the young guy. Yeah, we did see
Yes.
that. Right.
Yeah. I thought it was so well done. You know, those are my favorite type of movies, by the way. Like the one that
Yeah.
was Walk the Line, the one about Johnny Cash. Like I love those movies because you still learn about the person as a documentary aspect goes, but it's not quite a documentary, which could be a little
Yeah.
more on the boring side sometimes. You know what I mean? Like it's a little more exciting for the drama of Hollywood to be added to it. But I loved it. So good.
Yeah. The Bob Dylan movie, A Complete Unknown.
Complete Unknown.
That was
Yeah.
in it. But
Yeah.
also Laurel Canyon's good and Muscle Shoals about a
Mm.
recording studio down south where everyone went to play. Uh, uh, was just amazing. 20
Did you
feet from
hear about?
Stardom. Go ahead.
Say it again.
20 Feet from Stardom was a good one about backup
Okay.
singers.
Yeah. Did you see that there's a Bruce Springsteen movie coming out similar to
No,
this?
I want to see that. I like
Yeah.
that guy.
So Bruce Springsteen grew up in the town that I live in.
Oh, really?
And
The E Street
yeah,
Band.
he still comes. John Bon Jovi. They just had lunch downtown at the diner. John Bon Jovi and Bruce Springsteen, and they filmed a winter scene and I guess a summer scene downtown, taking all the buildings and putting the facade up to make it look like it was in the 70s and 80s, I guess, of him growing up.
That's
And
cool.
yeah, I'm really excited for that to come out and see my town not look like my town. Is going to be really interesting.
Oh, that's a great bit. Maybe you get some pictures.
Yeah, so they filmed downtown in like 2 days. It was the facade was up and the facade was down. You wouldn't even know they were there.
Really?
They were so fast, but they had to do it twice because they needed the different seasons, I guess. But yeah, it was cool. Do you feel that there was any part of anything that stands out musically that impacts the way you approach photography?
Well, yes. And here it is. At Berklee, one of the best things I learned was that there's a big difference between listening and hearing. So in other words, you and I could be driving around in the car and we could have Bruce Springsteen on and we're going to the diner and we could be saying, oh, I'm going to have, a club sandwich or a wrap or stuff like that. And we're just hearing the music. But if we're driving around by ourselves, we're listening to the music and we're listening to the bass. We're listening to, what the guitar player is doing. We're listening to the space between the notes. We're listening to the difference in volume. So we're listening. So in photography, there's a big difference between looking and seeing. And that's why people who are watching this, folks who are watching this, who are photographers, should be really happy because they see the world differently. Because non-photographers just look.
Yeah.
And they could be, at the Grand Canyon, oh, this is beautiful. But a photographer is going to be, looking into the shadows. They're going to be looking at the highlights. They're going to be, cutting the clutter. If they could only take one picture, what would that one picture be? So they're going to be thinking about composition. They're going to be moving around. So I think being a musician, well, I know, being a musician gives you a greater appreciation for music, and being a photographer definitely gives you a greater appreciation, I think, for life.
Mm. Well said. Well said.
And how beautiful it is. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm at my age. I just wake up. Well, every day I wake up. I'm glad that I wake up. But some people my age don't wake up. I'm serious. I was watching this guy talk about this recently.
Mhm.
Some guru. But anyway, the gift of sight is just amazing.
Yeah.
We see everything upside down, but our brain puts it this way. And the other thing is, you're looking at me, and the people are seeing me and you, or if they look around the room while they're watching this,
Mhm.
They say everything's in focus, like a 35 millimeter lens, stop down to f/22. Well, everything is not in focus when we see it. It's just that our mind puts this all together. So
Right.
everything looks in focus. I mean,
Yeah.
the brain and the eyes are just like amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's always inspirational when you come across a photo from a place that you might have photographed before, and it's completely different take, and it's just, you might have taken the time and really thought about how would I photograph this, but then somebody else could be in the same spot, same exact spot with the feet in the same place, but a completely different take because they vision things different than, that's the beautiful thing. It's such a beautiful thing.
Well, it is, Scott. It's a beautiful thing. And I'm blown away. Today on Instagram or wherever, on Facebook, I see a picture. I say, that's unbelievable. And it's by someone I never heard of, some amateur or some non-professional who goes someplace and gets the most amazing picture.
Yeah. Yep, for sure.
It's the same thing with musicians. There's so many talented musicians out there.
Yeah.
That you never heard of.
So I go to karate school, and actually next week I test for my black belt as well,
nice.
Which is exciting.
Wow, I'm even more impressed with you now.
Thank you. And we have a new white belt who has joined from another. He left a previous karate school he was in, joined ours. He has to start over at white belt, and he is a musician, full-time musician. Lived in Nashville for many years, and now he's here. And he's performing at the Jersey beaches all summer, and just hearing a fresh sound from someone I just met, and he is darn good. Yeah, and it's so inspiring to make me want to pick up the guitar more and write or just jam out and just have some fun. It's so nice.
I think we need to get inspired in our lives. And I think listening to musicians does that, like you said, looking at other people's work inspires us.
Yep.
There's a great book out called Steal Like an Artist.
Yes.
By Austin Kelton. And it starts out with a quote by Salvador Dali. And the quote is, those who imitate nothing create nothing, or something. Those who imitate, something like those who people don't imitate create nothing. So we try to imitate, and that's a great way to learn.
Yeah, for sure. I completely agree. I think a lot of people in both the music and photography space have always thought that, but I think when that book came out, it sort of simplified that thought for a lot of people that it's okay. It's okay.
It's okay.
And it's definitely a great book.
One of is called I copied Vermeer's Girl with the Pearl Earring. Vermeer's most famous painting. I think it's his most famous painting. So in my studio here, I just set up one light and a softbox, and I got my neighbor's daughter, and we got all the same kind of bands, headband and the dress and everything like that. And it was so much fun to try to do this. And I was trying to get the catch light in the same place. I was as Vermeer has in the eyes. I was trying to get the shadow on the same side, the same ratio of the highlight to the shadow. So it's a great setting. I'm a very goal oriented person, which is why I have 43 books and almost 60 classes. So the goal is it's really important in life.
Yeah, 100%, completely agree.
If I could throw this in, sorry to interrupt. My main goal is staying healthy. I know so many people, like you're the black belt karate. My hat's off to you. I know so many people my age who do not exercise, do not eat healthy. I spend 3 hours a day exercising. I ride.
You cycle, I think, right? Yeah, I think
I ride my bike, I row, and I walk. And, I was, you're not too far from me. 35 minutes north of Croton-on-Hudson is the largest Buddhist temple in the United States. It's amazing. It's in Kent, New York, if anyone wants to go, if you want to go. Kent, New York. It's amazing. It's a great place to photograph. The grounds are beautiful. It's a monastery. Anyway, we're up there many years ago. We've lived here for 40 years. And I meet the head of the Buddhist Association of the United States there. And I'm talking to him, saying thank you and things like that. And I said to him, what's the most important thing in Buddhism? And he said, being healthy. Yeah. And he said, if you're not healthy, what else can you do?
Yeah.
Right? So being healthy is so important.
That is for sure. I'll tell you, when my instructor told me the date that I was going up for my test with a couple other people, I was at the highest weight that I've ever been at. And I've been dealing with weight going up for years, and partially because of a thyroid thing going on. And I'm now lower than I have been in a very, very, very long time. I've lost over 10 pounds, which for a type of exercise where you have to move your entire body all over the floor and do a bunch of things.
Yeah.
Losing that weight feels good.
I bet.
Healthy is, there's nothing more important than that at all.
When you think about it, if you're not healthy, if you don't feel good, how can you get inspired to take a picture? How can you get inspired? If you eat a giant, and have like 2 glasses of wine, how can you do anything in the afternoon? Yeah. And I know people who do that.
Yep.
I have happy hour in the 5 o'clock.
One final question for you, Rick, and that is, are there any specific songs or specific albums that inspire your photography? Not necessarily like one photo, but overall, is there something that if you were, let's say, going for a walk with your camera, what is the one thing you would listen to just help inspire you to photograph?
I don't know if there's one song, but I mentioned that I put together, my pictures with the music. I'd say on my deathbed, which I hope is a long time from now, if someone says, Rick, what's the last song you want to hear? I would have to say, Here Comes the Sun.
Nice.
By George Harrison. That is such a beautiful, simple song, as you know, just a few chords. But when he does the third, the step down, after the 1, 4, 5, it's just so beautiful and so simple. And such a good message.
Yeah, 100%. Right? Well,
how about you?
Man. So I like all genres of music, but I actually do have I only have 2 playlists that I have on my phone for 2 specific things. One is yard work.
Okay.
Which is just like very, very like upbeat rock music to keep me going, moving around the lawn, mowing and doing what I got to do. The other one is Zen mode, where it's when I want to just be creative and focus, Zen mode. And it's actually just, there's no lyrics in any of it. It's a lot of instrumental music that is relaxing and gets me feeling creative. So that would be
I have a Zen playlist too, and I love yard work.
Yeah.
Right, you said you do yard work. I love cutting the lawn. I love trimming the bushes, weed whacking. It's all there.
Yeah. It's great exercise,
and it doesn't require a lot of brain work. And how productive do you feel at the end? Right, you look at it. Hey, I did this.
Yeah, so. After a hard, long day of work, or like a week, and I now need to spend a Saturday doing yard work, whatever it is. It's a good way to forget about everything else going on in life, and you just like, I'm making the yard look good. Nothing else. Nothing about anything else. So, Rick, I really appreciate you spending the time and hanging and chatting about music and photography. I'm going to link to everything that you mentioned and, of course, your website in the show notes from this episode. Is there any specific place or thing or book that you wanted listeners to check out?
Well, about my website, if you go on the left, you'll see something called Rick's Music Room, where I have some actually guitar and piano lessons free.
Amazing.
So, that's it.
Amazing. I really appreciate it again. Thank you for spending time with me.
Well, I appreciate it too. It's always great talking to a fellow musician and a photographer. Maybe we'll get to play sometime.
It would be lovely if we can do that.
Well, or go to the Buddhist temple.
Yeah.
No, look it up. You may want to look it up. Buddhist Temple, Kent, New York. It's amazing. It's closed from December 31st to April 1st because they can't afford to snowplow the road because it's a long road up to the temple. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Scott, for having me.
Thank you.